Billions and billions of years into the future, civilization has long fallen and the human race is extinct, leaving only minimal traces and remnants of a forgotten world. Nature has reclaimed the planet as its own once again, maneuvering its vines and fauna around the cold, hard slabs of concrete that once supported towering skyscrapers. Evolution has once again given order to the lower insects and animals, with natural selection shaping the ever-changing landscapes and ecosystems. The circle of life is fully repaired, nearly undoing all the damage of the world's previous owners and giving birth to what the fuck are those things? Oh, they're actually kinda cute. They look like jelly babies. Oh my god! Is that a spaceship? Oh my god, fuck! Let me tell you a little story about Pikmin. Pikmin is an original Nintendo IP that found its roots in a GameCube tech demo called Super Mario 128, which was made to showcase the GameCube's crazy fast processing power, and Pikmin ended up being a very important title for the console. I've already expressed my soul's devotion to the console, though. Playing Pikmin, you can definitely see how the technology was put to good use. It was definitely new and looked promising from the very beginning, with the concept and execution both feeling super fresh, certainly making creative use of the GameCube controller. Commanding the Pikmin to fight, pick up items, take down walls, and to get their stupid asses out of the goddamn water before the sun went down made for a completely unforgettable experience. Overall, it was super butt-clenchy and forced you to really think fourth-dimensionally. It really pushed you to sharpen up your management and organizational skills while keeping everything super conscious and intense, in the moment. Hold on, I thought we were gonna talk about— Yeah, well, I'll get to that in just a second. First, let me express a 12-year-old's dream. A dream of a sequel. Pikmin was so largely and obviously successful that it spawned a sequel, which was just as good, if not even better than the first. Addressing all the little quirks and issues and suggestions that came from the first, Pikmin 2 expanded on and resolved nearly every single problem. Too many Pikmin for one person? Here is a second man. Time limit is a fucking drag? Yeah, sorry about that. It's gone! Not to mention that they really expanded upon the different types of areas you're able to visit, with snowy regions, dungeons, and even more varied puzzles. And then, silence. Years pass in the time since Pikmin 2's release. Whispers and mumblings from Miyamoto about a potential Pikmin 3, but ultimately offering nothing definite. The Pikmin fanbase, me included, had all but given up hope after leaving empty-handed E3 after E3. Each conference going by with our glistening eyes and eager ears to hear the magic words. Nothing. An entire console's lifespan we waited. And then, it happened.
And that was the start of Wii U.
そしてこれが Wii U です。
This is Wii U. Now, as we were developing this new system, Wii U, I thought I definitely want to create the next Pikmin on this new hardware. So allow me to introduce the next Pikmin to you.
The Wii U marked the return of Nintendo to their former glory as the household champion, and goddamn did they come back strong. We lost them for a minute there, but man, did they come back with a vengeance. We waited years, but it was finally here. I think I've delayed this enough. It's been on my list since day one. Pikmin 3. This game is stunning. Taking everything that made Pikmin 1 and 2 good and adding a level of next-gen polish, Pikmin 3 is absolutely unreal. This time around, we have 3 playable characters for maximum organization. Alf, Brittany, and Captain Charlie have all been commissioned by their planet, Kopai, to find seeds to bring back and save their doomed, starving population. This leads into our main objective. In past games, we were finding Olimar's ship parts, or we were finding giant trinkets to raise money for Olimar's bankrupt employer. Now, we're finding food. Before even anything, I have to note how incredible it looks. The shaders, models, and textures have all been produced to be impressively lifelike. Walking around the world, it really does feel like we're quarter-sized beings walking around this scary, uncharted world. Makes you think of what it'd be like to walk around your mom's garden as an ant. Even the camera's been made to have this tilt-shift effect, adding to the immersion and sense of scale. Leaves, grass, bugs, and even the Pikmin themselves have all been given significant visual upgrades to look and feel more organic in their designs. Floors aren't just textures anymore. Grass, dust, concrete, and rock all look completely distinct, once again clearly being backed by the much beefier processing power of the Wii U, allowing for complex thingies like normal maps and parallax mapping and detailed reflections. This detail also obviously goes for the bigger bosses and enemies, which go anywhere from fuzzy to crab, which definitely use quite a few more polygons. I can only assume that all of this was what the original vision of Pikmin was intended to be. It's super interesting to see the level of polish the developers were able to add now that the technology is finally there. While it's never been Nintendo's deal to have the best graphics, I can't help but look at all of this and just say, ugh, finally. Everything feels super bright and grounded. In comparison to the GameCube and Wii, you can really see how the outdated technology held them back in the previous generation. Although Nintendo is notorious for being programming wizards who are able to work around hardware limitations, essentially the Pixar of video games, you really have to wonder what ideas they may have had to throw out because it wasn't viable. Regardless, this title certainly makes very good use of the technology, keeping it on par graphically with some PS4 and Xbox One titles. This can also be due to the very natural, earthy color palette, using a very smooth mix of rich browns, paler oranges, and darker greens, which contrast against the brighter, flashy enemies, which end up really fitting against the natural-looking forests and tundras. While the game definitely feels plenty colorful and lively, it doesn't feel too oversaturated and feels much closer to a photorealistic style than it does a full-blown cartoon, in contrast to something like Super Mario 3D World, which obviously uses brighter primary colors. It really does just give off this strange sensation of silent enthusiasm. Aside from the visual environment, we're also given a very well-matched auditory environment. The soundtrack in this game is like a wonderful lunch at a French cafe, or so I could only imagine. Using an assortment of more natural, orchestrated, and generally European folky sounds, the music is wonderfully graceful and really blends into the atmosphere of the game, almost especially so when it rains. Being someone who's attracted to bands like Beirut, who incorporate a lot of world music-sounding instruments, the game produces tracks that I can listen to at any time. The Garden of Hope alone is one of the first tracks we encounter, and already it creates an amazing soundscape. The game contains numerous themes for all the different scenarios you and your Pikmin will run into, all using the same set of string and wind instruments from the specific genre. From the snow to the caves, and to wherever the fuck this tree thing is located. The soundtrack blurs the line between ambiance and orchestra. As with most games I enjoy, the gameplay is simple, intuitive, yet clearly has a lot of thought put behind it. The main mechanic here is the Pikmin. The Pikmin are central to our world. What are they exactly? Well, we don't really know, actually. There's no autopsy or anatomy reports, but we do know how they work and what they do, and damn it if they weren't just so perfectly adorable. There are 3 basic types of Pikmin: red, blue, and yellow. All Pikmin can mainly do the same things, but each type have different specialties, which also serve as weaknesses for the others. Reds are impervious to fire, which you curiously come into contact with a little too often. Blues can swim in water, our mortal fucking enemy in this game, and yellows are the wild card in the series. Throughout the 3 games, their abilities vary wildly. In the first game, they can hold bombs, but in the second, they were impervious to electricity. This time around, they can actually conduct electricity with their bodies, and they also dig faster and get thrown higher than the other Pikmin, but really that electricity thing. Oh shit, bomb rocks are back, dude! Aside from our basic trio of Pikmin, we have 2 new types, and these are kinda game changers. Rock Pikmin. Basically walking rocks with tiny little legs, stalks, and eyeballs. Throwing them at things ensures that it will break and or shatter, which comes hand in hand with the introduction of glass and crystal formations. Yup, I'm set. Then we have these, Flying Pikmin. I remember losing my shit when these were first unveiled, just cause of how they broke the rules. Pikmin were generally seen as walking guys with different colors, but then Nintendo decides, hey, what if there was like a Pikmin, but it was a fairy? These guys are actually able to lift things like normal Pikmin, except the advantage is that they can just fucking lift shit off the ground and over everything. No fucks given here. I guess it's not a giant addition, but it's seriously one of the cooler ones that Pikmin 3 gives us. Now, the one aspect which completes the genius design of the Pikmin themselves, at least in my opinion, is the stalk on their head with the leaf. This leaf, as you've seen, is sometimes a flower. This denotes maturity of the Pikmin. Eating nectar or letting time pass while they're only sprouting will see them eventually bloom into flowers. This means that in this stage, the Pikmin is overall stronger and faster. Also note this. A Pikmin is recognizable from anywhere. The silhouette is distinct and powerful. To someone not aware of a Pikmin, it's definitely thought-provoking at the least. The mixture of insect and plant features makes you question which one it really falls under, especially considering its humanoid stature. Either way, the mechanics and inner workings behind the Pikmin are satisfying and add a lot of value to the gameplay, allowing the player to consider quite a few variables in any given challenge. The Pikmin themselves aren't just adorable by design alone, they're given silent but quirky personalities and are seen to have basic reasoning skills. Their animations are not only, once again, super cute, but it shows a new level of detail that wasn't possible in the first game despite how advanced it was for the time. Even the sounds they make excellently match them and really add to the cutesy vibe. The Pikmin themselves are the main reason I love the game so much. I guess it only makes sense, but for me it just raises questions. How were the Pikmin created? What were they derived from? Perhaps they evolved from a plant that slowly gained more and more sentience as time progressed and somehow survived by blending in? Or perhaps just by abundance alone? I mean, they are a prey species, unfortunately. Under your command, though, they will do great things. What is your command, though?
This, my friends, is the Wii U gamepad.
Nintendo got tired of coming up with obscene and ridiculous but eerily comfortable ways to arrange buttons on the face of a controller, so they just said, fuck it. Here's an entire screen between an Xbox 360 controller.
And oh my god, it works!
Imagine a giant, detachable Nintendo DS with the processing power of an Xbox 360 that has some additional help from a fax machine. It works much like a Wacom tablet in terms of Pikmin 3. We drag the stylus around and can see the corresponding position of the cursor on the screen and can simply tap to toss Pikmin. Unlike a regular controller, this means that we can have quicker, smarter reactions, and we aren't at the mercy of the slower analog stick sensitivity, all the while without actually having to look at the gamepad screen. One more tidbit that makes this game sick as fuck is the photo mode. We can actually get a glimpse into the game using the gamepad and can take photos as we please, looking at every detail up close. Fuck yes, Nintendo, that shit right there. It tickles me. I want to rub it all over my skin. Remember that one time I said we had to collect food for our planet? That's actually not just for our home planet, though. It's for us. Yeah, that time limit thing from Pikmin 1, it's kinda back. The problem was that there was either too much pressure put on the player or none at all, making the challenge kinda flimsy. Nintendo came up with really the best solution for these problems. You control how much time you have left. What that means is that the amount of food you have will directly affect how much longer you can spend on not Earth, as that also serves as your food supply. Finding food in the world means you have more time, although we have many more objectives to do as the game progresses and the plot unfolds. For a compromise, they kinda nailed it. As I've said in the past, some of the greatest design comes from the school of the player's fault. Here, if the player dicks around too much and runs out of food, then it's their fault for not utilizing their time efficiently.
You idiot.
Picking up items of interest involves sending a group of Pikmin to collect it. The amounts required will be courteously displayed above the item, letting you know how many are currently struggling and how many you actually need. As they traverse through enemies and harsh environments, and as the game goes on, you'll have to use more of your wit if you want to move on. We can also send the Pikmin to do an assortment of other tasks, like take down walls, build bridges, or stand. One of the more subtle but very much appreciated adjustments in this game is the AI improvement. For a quick example, Pikmin who have to come back to do stuff or pick things up will now automatically come back to their original spot. It eliminates a lot of the waiting and unnecessary retrieving elements that plagued the earlier entries and allows you to focus on the more important obstacles like protecting your current party from enemies.
Enemies, you say?
Well, let's see what we're up against. Oh wow, okay. Nope.
Oh my, fuck, yeah, that's absolutely, that's something.
Fighting in Pikmin 3 is crucial. We have to do it a lot, which means getting used to being quick on your feet with Pikmin management. More often than not, you'll probably find yourself screaming at the Pikmin to get the fuck out of there, you dick! It's a nice spin on the classic video game weak spot.
I didn't prepare for this at all.
Check this out. For this boss, we have to take out his glass exoskeleton and then use the other Pikmin to attack him. Oh, and we now also have the ability to lock onto an enemy and rush them, which comes in super handy if you don't want to destroy your screen or A button by tapping at the speed of light. This mechanic was clearly made to address the sluggish and generally fucking annoying method of individual Pikmin tossing. Something else really interesting to note visually is that the enemies, while totally threatening, probably make the game feel much more alive and foreign than the Pikmin or spacemen do. I mean this in the sense of their very different, outlandish designs. The art style used in the Pikmin series has always been incredibly surreal. Sometimes I feel like I'm walking around a Salvador Dali painting. In fact, some of the enemies aren't even enemies to begin with. Every so often, you'll come across a passive creature who are simply made to be passers-by. The game is so unpredictable that it's usually hard to tell who's a friend or foe. If you ask me, that's actually really fucking cool. The frenemies, if you will, blur the lines between bad guy and good guy and makes for a way more dynamic environment. It also starts to put the whole dang thing in perspective. You are simply another element in this giant sandbox. The world simply doesn't revolve around you exactly. These guys probably don't hate you specifically. They're likely territorial or naturally aggressive. The Bulborbs, for example, will usually be found in isolated groups and will only give chase if you're near them, but eventually give up once you're out of range. That could easily just be that you move too far away, but fuck you, let me have fun. This metagame, coupled with the beautiful yet intimidating environments, really does form true immersion. Many times did I lose track of time completely just going through the game. Doing tasks and successfully completing a bridge or getting food just feels really good. It makes you feel accomplished. Taking out a giant boss and having the Pikmin carry it like a trophy to produce more Pikmin is just righteous. That's really one of the bigger parts of Pikmin as a whole. It's that feeling you get when you get a good amount of stuff by the end of the day or you manage your time efficiently. Spending one day farming Pikmin, then the next tackling leftover objectives and loose ends, and then finally going for the next objective. It's pretty rewarding to have any sort of successful game plan, since it alone gives you the affirmation that you have a sufficient understanding of these creatures. For a few minutes there, you really do feel like the explorer, or scientist, or engineer, or captain, perhaps all at the same time. Sometimes it's even just fun to explore. The designs and layouts of the areas are so interesting that you almost just want to keep going to see what lies beyond the barriers, to see what creatures you could find. The little hints and leftovers from the world before also remain to be largely intriguing, much in the vein of games like Half-Life 2 or Portal 2. It's tantalizing to imagine what may lie beyond. While it's never really touched on, I could only imagine what it'd be like if Nintendo left hints lying around relating to the fate of the humans, or to even show how much time had passed since they were gone. Gathering from the insane state of the creatures, I mean, that's a fucking bird head with a snake neck. Regardless, Pikmin 3 certainly pulled it all together, and it was worth the wait. It's nice to see such a graceful revival of a series that's been around for like 12 years. Oh my god, 12 fucking years!